what we are going to primarily do today is explain the peer coaching process as we are going to do it, which I know is different from the way peer coaching has been done for the last few years. I'm recording this session so that we can stick it up on the Glue Up website, so that when people want to come and register, they can actually sort of watch the video and go, okay, now I understand what this is all about and what it's for. So 3 things I'm going to do this evening. One is, no, 4. One is just talk you through the structure of peer coaching as we're going to do it, and explain the whys and the how. Then just talk about some guidelines, rules for the group, because I made it very clear there's a way of doing it that works, and what I want is for this to scale. So we need more people to acquire the skill of how to lead these groups, so that we can, we've got, what's the latest count, Josephine? Was it 850 members currently in the chapter? I know it goes up and down by a couple of hundred when renewals come up, but we don't want it to be a sort of, oh, there's only a group of a dozen people do peer coaching. We want as many as possible because it's really helpful. To do that, we need to be able to scale. And given that we're using Zoom, it's going to be really easy because we can scale just simply by saying, okay, 40 people turned up tonight. Okay, 3 breakout rooms, and then we nominate the facilitator for each one. But you need to know how to facilitate it. Okay, and then the final bit, I guess, is really just answer any questions you've got. So for context, when the chapter was very, very small, we used to do peer coaching, and my wife and I used to co-host it. And literally, it was typically a group of 6 to 8 people who turned up at our apartment every couple of weeks, and John cooked dinner for everybody, and we had a nice time. It was small in those days. We can't scale to that these days, I'm afraid, but feel free, as Linda said, bring your lunch with you to these sessions. The concept of peer coaching, there are a few different processes that can be used, but the primary process is that it is not a discussion group. And we don't do coaching and then critique what the other people did. There's very few of us are qualified to critique anybody else's coaching. So we ain't going to do that. We're not going to get into a discussion group. It's quite okay to meet up later for a discussion. But trust me, I've been doing this for enough years. Discussion groups, nobody learns anything. Something happens, and then all the people in the room share their opinions. And each person will then defend their opinions. Nobody takes anybody else's opinions on board. We just want to make our voice heard. Peer coaching done this way rapidly enhances your coaching skills. Really rapidly. I've seen people where I've done programs over the years for maybe leaders inside an organization as an in-house, teach them, the core coaching skills as managers. And then we have a follow-up skills embedding process. And we build this same type of peer coaching process as something that they then do inside the organization. And the difference in coaching skills between somebody who's attended maybe 1 of these follow-up sessions and somebody who's done 4 of them is huge. It's really huge. Hi, Kiati, how are you?
Sorry, I'm so sorry. We finished dinner a little bit later than expected. I wasn't sure whether I should come in late or not come at all, but I thought I'd take my chance.
It's okay. As I said, we're recording so that people can re-listen anyway, so we're fine. Ellen, are you with us? Are you able to join us visually, Ellen?
Yes, sure.
It's just so much nicer. So let me get started. Oh no, before I start, are there any questions?
Tony, this is Sunil here. This is my first time in the chapter. So while I've been doing peer coaching outside of this through the coaching organization that I work with.
Okay.
Just want to understand how it gets carried out in this chapter. So how do you allocate coach and coachee, and how does that work here?
Right. So I think the first answer to that is what you've experienced as peer coaching, or is more buddy coaching, and that's not what we're going to do. So I think you'll probably find that the process is very different. So the way we do this, it's a defined process that's designed to promote the rapid deepening and improvement of core coaching skills and your competencies. It's not a discussion group. It's not a coaching demo. So we don't have person A coaching person B while the rest of us listen, watch, and then observe and comment. We don't do that. Right? For sustainability of the group, every one of you should commit to learning to lead the process. Because if we only have one or two people who know how to lead the process correctly, then one day we're not available, the rest of you show up for a session, it's like nothing's going to happen. So you've got to be comfortable with it. I do this in corporate entities when I'm building it as an internal sustainability process so that I can be made redundant. And typically, by the time you've participated in 2 or 3 sessions, you've got a pretty good sense of what the group facilitator does. It then only takes 2 or 3 sessions of you being the facilitator with me sitting on your shoulder and whispering in your ear for you to get pretty comfortable with how to do it. After that, the 3rd, 4th, 5th person learning how to do this is incredibly fast. Because if you're the 4th one in line, you've sat through 12 sessions. So it's pretty easy to come up to speed. The key bit is the one running the process mustn't participate. That's what throws you off if you try to say, okay, I'll run the process and I'll join in. All right. So let me talk you through the process. I'm going to try and share my screen. I've got so many windows on my damn screen. Let me just get rid of a few of these onto the other side. Otherwise, it's going to look really cluttered. And then you'll have to tell me if what I share is visible enough. Okay, let's try this. Is that large enough to be readable?
Yeah, I can see it.
Yes, it is.
Yeah?
Thank you.
Oh, good. Okay. So this was the document I put together to submit to ICF to get the CCEs approved for these sessions. So it's got what are we doing, why are we doing it, what are the timings we stick to, and then what's the competencies that this kind of maps to. Now, so rule 2 was I'd like you all to commit to learning how to run the process so that we can then scale and help the whole chapter. Rule 3, when you come to a session, you must prepare a case. Now, the methodology is that we select a case, and that becomes the case in focus. And we only do one case in one session, and the session typically takes an hour. The benefit of everybody preparing a case is that whilst you are busy going through the process, your subconscious will work on your case that you wrote up. So when you get to the end and we say, let's wrap up and say, what did we learn out of this one? It could be, and usually is, I learned this, and here's how it applies to the case that I wrote up yesterday. So I know we're all busy, but please, 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 taking 15 minutes before the sessions to write up the case is absolutely crucial. You will get so much more out of it. Now, the case. You can decide what the case is. It might be a situation where you're coaching somebody, and whether you're an internal coach, an external coach, a manager using coaching skills, doesn't matter. It might be a situation you've got where you're coaching somebody and you're a bit stuck. Sometimes it's you're preparing for a conversation you've got to have with somebody. So if you're an internal coach or a manager, sometimes you might be in a situation where you're going like, I've got to sit down and give somebody some feedback and then have a coaching conversation. I haven't done it yet. So the case is really about, how do I prepare for this? What do I feel about it? How am I getting ready for it? It's also perfectly okay to use it as a business scenario. And this we started doing with some of my corporate clients, where we would get the senior leaders together to do this, and they started using it for business strategy. How is this relevant to you? You might be a coach who's relatively early in establishing your business and you're struggling. That might be the case you want to get some help on. It will still work. So feel free to play around with what's the thing, the situation, the case that you want to get help with. So the way we do this, we've set this CP to be typically an hour and I think 15 minutes. It's good practice at the beginning of every session to take 10 minutes for the facilitator to remind the group of the process and the rules. So we do that every single time. And it helps when we've got new people coming in, but it also helps the rest of us stay on track. Because it's tempting, isn't it? I mean, we're coaches, we want to discuss stuff. This isn't the forum. So we start off with a very disciplined process of saying, let's just remind ourselves of the process. So let me talk you through it, and feel free to just shout up. I can't see you guys at the moment. Oh, I've got you on the other screen here. If you've got questions as I go through, just shout, okay? So I don't miss anything. So the first bit is 2 minutes, where the case owner that's been chosen presents the issue with any relevant contextual information. And I'm not going to be any more precise than that. What they must do, though, having described the situation, is then tell the group what help they're looking for. The coaches must then stay very disciplined that the questions they ask for the rest of the session must go in the direction of the help the person who wrote the case was looking for. The temptation will be to go, oh, no, you need to go over here and look at this. And the facilitator will stop you doing that. This helps reinforce some of the basics that we learn for getting through our ACC of it's the client's agenda. And no matter what you think they might be doing, you've got to learn to stay with that. We take 2 minutes. Now timings, let me just comment on timings. Timings are important. The facilitator does the timing and sticks to it religiously. And I'll explain the reason for that in a moment. The case owner, often having written up their case, when they explain the situation, will often go a little bit deeper and give a bit more background information. And just the fact that they're having to explain what they wrote often starts that thought process for them. And my stance is coaching is the process of triggering thinking. So anything we do that starts that helps. 2 minutes, alignment to competencies, and these are the new competencies I looked at to be sort of nice and up to date. Cultivating trust and safety, embodying coaching mindset, maintaining presence, and listening actively. Any questions?
Good.
Yes.
Apologies if it sounds a little bit mismatched here. Right. What I understand in peer coaching, if I can just back up a wee bit and then come back onto this question, is peer coaching, it used to be 1 hour this way, 1 hour that way. You're talking about a 1.5 hour now, or 1 hour and 15 minutes. Has that process changed on a so-called back-to-back system? Because then once I start to understand that, I can see how I'm coming into this and what I'm going to be doing here.
Right. When you say has the process changed, are you talking about peer coaching as it was done for the last year or two in the chapter?
Yes, that's what I understood peer coaching to be.
Right.
So,
okay. Okay. And okay, so we're doing a different process. We're going back to the process we used to use 15 years ago.
okay. And this takes 1.25 hours.
So we run, the process itself is an hour.
Okay, yes.
We need a few minutes at the beginning to remind ourselves of the process. And then it's good to have a few minutes at the end to wrap up and say, okay, what was the learning? And the reason I'm adding another sort of 10, 15 minutes to go around the room for the learning at the end of it is because we don't know how group sizes will be. When we used to do this years and years ago, there were 8 of us, that was it. There was nobody else showed up. So we could be very precise about how long it took. Okay.
The length is one thing, but so are we all coaching on the same topic then? Because a person has brought a topic into the center.
Yes.
Then do we go into breakout rooms, or how do we do this individually? Because before you answer that question, I think one of the reasons why a lot of us did peer coaching, let's call it in the old way, the hour back to back, was to firstly get hours towards the ACC, because you needed coaching hours.
Right.
And the second part was to get experience with a number of different people. Is this process along those same lines?
No. So what you were experiencing for the last year or two called peer coaching was actually really buddy coaching. If we go back to the academic origins of peer coaching, it was this type of process that I'm going to be taking you through.
Okay.
So
and
you've also talked about what you were doing was like buddy coaching or reciprocal coaching. And right. And if you want to do that, ICF actually has a forum for that.
Oh.
There is in fact, there's 2 reciprocal coaching platforms in existence. Karen Griffiths out of Australia originated reciprocal coaching years and years and years ago. She also then was asked to set up on behalf of ICF Global a reciprocal coaching practice within ICF, and so both of them exist. And they do some awesome stuff, because it's not just basic reciprocal coaching. They have variety as in different flavors of it. They really, I'll find the links and send them to you to go look for. There's so much greater breadth that you will get there. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Then.
Okay. No. So let me disappoint you right away. Yes. Right. Let me disappoint you right away. What you've been doing in the peer coaching group for the last year or two, we're not doing that.
Okay.
Yeah.
What is our plan and purpose here? Or I mean, I'm certainly understanding the value. I just need to try and position it a weenie bit more.
Yeah.
Do we get hours? Do we all coach the same topic? Do we go into a breakaway room?
Okay, let me talk you through it and explain that then. And if I'm not being clear, shout. So,
thank you, that's fine.
All right, so the methodology is we have the group of us, 6, 8, 10, 12 people, whatever it is. There is a facilitator, which is going to be me. There is, in fact, let me stop the screen share for a second and come back to you. So we have the facilitator, we have the group, And then we have one member of the group who is chosen to present their case. The facilitator then guides everybody else step by step through a process where you all will use specific coaching skills to do something with that person to shift their thinking and their perspective. So it's not in the sense of, is this a complete coaching session? Absolutely not. We're picking specific activities to do for specific purposes. Everything is about helping the person get new thinking and a new idea of how to move forward with their problem. And the way we do that is by practicing very specific skills. Yeah, so it's a group session. So let me just go back and reshare the document and talk you through it. So, beginning of the group, the facilitator, me in the first instance, just reminds everybody of the process, and we pick somebody whose case we're going to work on, and then I invite that person to spend 2 minutes presenting their issue with any relevant contextual information and telling us what help they're looking for from the group. So what's the outcome they want from this conversation? When that 2 minutes is up, we then have 15 minutes for all of you in the group to ask questions. Now, we say ask clarifying questions. The emphasis here is you have to ask questions that will align to the direction of the help that the person wants, and that you facilitate some fresh thinking. So the facilitator's job is to listen and watch and see, and there's going to be some judgment calls. Did that question trigger some fresh thinking? So if they don't miss a beat and we see no facial movements or change and they come straight out with an answer, yeah, that probably didn't trigger any fresh thinking. So we'll kind of highlight that. If you ask a question which is data seeking, so if you're asking about, now, why have you got this problem, or what's the background to this, the facilitator will go, sorry, you can't answer. And it will get a little frustrating, because our temptation is to seek the facts, to go into the, why have you got this problem? Have you thought about doing this? Have you? All that will be prevented. Typically, first couple of sessions that a new group does, you will be so frustrated you'll think of quitting, because you'll just find that your habit is just asking questions that ask for information and for data. And the only reason you need data about a situation and a problem is if you're going to help try and solve it. And as the coach, that's not what you're there for. It will get frustrating. But what happens is we very quickly, session 1, really frustrating. Session 2, quiet, because we're all working really hard to try and come up with a question that's going to trigger some thinking. Session 3 or 4, we start to get the hang of it and it begins to flow. So your skill of triggering thinking and your skill of recognizing that you've triggered thinking gets better so much more quickly. And that actual second point is really important, because it's not always technically this question should trigger thinking, but sometimes it doesn't. So building patterns based on the feedback you get and what I allow to be answered and what I don't helps your brain build the patterns, because sometimes you can ask a question that technically wasn't a brilliant coaching question, but it actually kept the snowball going because it was the right thing at the right time. Yeah. Second thing that will happen is your listening skills will start to sharpen up as well. Because your initial instinct is that you won't listen to the questions that have already been asked because you're too busy listening to yourself, thinking about what's the great question I can ask. And what I'm going to try and get you to do is being completely present and in the moment, so that you ask a question that builds on the question that was asked a moment ago. So we take them deeper, not sort of, yeah, but I want to take them over in this direction. And you will gradually see your skills improve in that way. Early sessions, it'll be like, you can almost hear people's experience and where they come from based on the question they ask and the direction they want to take you thinking. Where we get to is your questions come from whatever the answer was to the previous question that somebody else just asked, so that people start going deeper. And that is really how we want our coaching to develop. You don't go into a coaching conversation having any idea of what questions you're going to ask. Your question comes from your subconscious, from whatever you've just heard. So this will help.
Question, Tony. In terms of role, so is the facilitator also the case owner in this case?
No. So
that's different roles there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Facilitator is fixed and runs the process. Facilitator picks one of you to be the case owner for the day. Yeah.
Got that. Thank you.
Yeah. The other thing that will often happen in this, for the first couple of times we do it, is that as the facilitator, I will say, okay, questions to try and trigger thinking and get clarification, to get the case owner to have more clarity. 15 minutes, off you go. And then we have 5 or 10 minutes of silence, because kind of nobody wants to jump in and be first. Then somebody asks a question. And then you start going, oh, hang on, I've got a question. And we get to 15 minutes and I say, now stop. And everybody goes, no, but I've got a really good question. Trust me, you will hate me because I will not allow you to go and ask your question. And it's going to be so damn frustrating. Why do we do that? Because again, next time round, when a question pops up, you'll ask it because you don't want to, you know, there's a 15-minute time limit. And what we're teaching you here as a coach is to build that reflex, which says, in the moment, if something pops up, put it out there. Don't judge yourself. Don't try to be right. It's just like, just put it out there. You know, some years back when I was doing assessor work for ICF, PCC, MCC assessments, we used to sit down at the end of the exam. It used to be live, 2 MCCs doing a live exam. And we used to sit down at the end and people were offered the opportunity for us to explain, why did you fail? Almost always the failure point at the advanced level was on competency 7, as it used to be, direct communication. I would find myself saying to people, look, you failed because the client said this and this and this and this, and you didn't pick up on it. Now, nobody ever says, oh, I didn't hear that. They say, yeah, I heard that. And I wasn't sure if it was kind of okay to go there. So we need to build that muscle which says, you hear something, you just go there, just call it out, right? Breakthrough coaching comes from just calling it. Okay, so this first section will really help you with those 2 things. You can see there the competencies that I think that now maps to. Now, when we've done that first 15 minutes on the questions, everybody goes silent and we get the case owner to then just take 2 minutes to highlight which questions have triggered some fresh thinking. That's all we ask them. That's all we want to know. This helps you, again, this is a subconscious process in a way. It's building patterns, because you'll be so disappointed when they don't mention the question that you asked. We'll go like, oh, well, mine was a good question. You never know what's going to trigger it. So patterns of what works and what doesn't in particular situations will start to build up in your subconscious as a result of hearing what triggered what didn't. It's not something that this isn't a conscious piece of learning you'll walk away from, but trust me, you will build patterns in your subconscious that will help you. And we don't get into detailed discussion. We just want to know which question triggered some fresh thinking. early stages with groups, sometimes the answer is nothing. And then we all get really hurt and disappointed and upset. But that's the way it is. The next section we go into for about 12 minutes is what I like to term office gossip, because we're all good at that. We can do this. So for these pieces now, the case owner gets to just sit down and listen. When we do it physically in the same room, we get them to turn their back so that we don't talk to them. When we're doing it here in this group, we just close their video off so they can listen, but they're not allowed to say anything, and we don't talk to them. We speak as if we were in the office, around the coffee machine, gossiping about somebody. And what we're gossiping about is, from what we've heard, what do we really think's going on here? The idea here is we're trying to trigger some awareness for that person. So we're just, and you will be surprised when once you relax and go really fun. There are two rules here. First rule is there are no rules. You can say anything you like, no matter how rude or outrageous it is. Second rule is the person who owns the case is in full agreement that they will take no offense at anything we say. And once we've got that liberty to just be open, you can just be as outrageous as you like, because you never know what might shift a perspective. And sometimes it's the opposite of what you throw out there. So I know when we're looking at, when we're prepping people for their MCC exams, and we're saying, you've got to learn to let go of any attachment to the problem even being solved that the person's getting coaching on. You've got to lose all attachment to being right. Because if something comes up and you throw it out there, the worst thing that can happen is the person you're coaching goes, no, it's not that. And do you know what they say next? They go, oh, it's this. So the fact that you threw something out there that popped up and it wasn't that triggered them to get the realization of what it was. So again, we're reinforcing that ability for you as the coach to just tune into what's happening, get connected with them, and just allow whatever comes up to come up and be put on the table with no fear or no attachment to being right or perfect or anything. And in my experience doing this with groups from all around the world, once you let go of your inhibitions, everybody's pretty damn good at office gossip. This section's fun. Once that's done, again, we bring the case owner back into the group and we ask them to just tell us which remarks provided some inspiration. And did it take their previous insights from the first section deeper, or has it brought up something new? And it could do either. Occasionally, you get a response which says, no, that triggered absolutely nothing new at all. But the fact that I was listening to all that has really made me even more convinced that the idea I got from the first session is right. So you just have no idea where it's going to go with this one. The next section, again, 12 minutes, we go around the room, everybody takes a turn. Again, with the case owner just listening silently, agreeing not to take offense. You have to put yourself in the skin of one of the people in the situation. And again, you can experiment here. There's a particular way to do it. We get you to speak first person present tense. So case owner described a situation and you would say, okay, so I'm the case owner's boss and here's how I feel. Now, what happens for us is usually this is one of the places where we're kind of empathizing and we're connecting something about their situation to something we've experienced in the past. So we're learning to tap into our entire body of knowledge and experience as a human being and just let it come up. After that, we then get the case owner to give us the feedback. Same thing, what's triggered something for you? What's your current thinking? Are there any new perspectives that have come up? So again, building those patterns in your subconscious as to what's happening. The final section, you know, when we first learn to coach, we have to let go of being the expert, solving problems and giving advice. And we all kind of struggle with that one a bit. It's a lot of contexts where you can't coach somebody on something they don't know. If somebody doesn't know something and they can't connect the dots. I mean, thinking is the process. Innovation, creativity, problem solving is just connecting previously unconnected data in your brain. And if they don't know something, there's some data missing, then they're kind of stuck. Sometimes if you're an internal coach, sometimes if you're a manager, even sometimes if you're an external coach, they need to know stuff. Questions I want to ask is a way of turning the advice that you're dying to give them into a thought-provoking question. It's frustrating as hell, but it's a really good discipline to learn. Example from a more recent one, there was an in-company group. The more wise, experienced internal coach mentor was sort of listening and going, okay, youngster, you need to talk to Fred in Tokyo. So that's the advice. But we know how life works. Nobody takes advice. People don't want advice. They want to go around finding somebody to validate their thinking. And they'll keep asking their friends for opinions until somebody agrees with them. Yeah, that's the reality. If you want to trigger some thinking, take the advice and turn it into a thought-provoking question. So the advice would be, talk to George in Tokyo. He's been through that before. The thought-provoking question might be, oh, I don't know, let's see if we're getting anywhere here. Who'd like to volunteer a thought-provoking question based on that piece of advice? How would you phrase it?
Who might you talk to about this?
Who might you talk to about this? Okay, nice. Okay, can anybody go that one a bit deeper to really push them? Because who might you talk to about this? They might go, I don't know. You're in the right direction. I like that. Now, come up with it. Somebody come up with an example that forces that one a little bit deeper and wider.
How can you get some support to move forward on this?
Yeah, I like that. But if specifically try and take it just in the direction of that piece of advice. Let's say your advice was talk to George in Tokyo. Because how can you get support could take it in some other direction. Linda, I see a thought.
I was going to be mischievous and say, what about speaking to George in Tokyo? We can move forward, darling. And if you don't like George in Tokyo, I'll soon unearth that and I'll then ask other little, trip-along questions.
Right.
But
yeah. So, I mean, the way I would tend to do that one would be to say, to go a bit deeper than Kathy's suggestion, we would say, so who outside your normal contact area in the organization might have some relevant experience. So you sort of, push where you want the thinking to go. You might go a little bit further and go, hey, I realize you don't have the answer to this right now, but who do you know who would know who else in the organization could help you? So you can make them think about their sphere of influence, but also the wider one. Yeah. Because, if you're prepping for ICF credentialing exams, you end up leading the witness, my lord, you'll get smacked. So this technique helps you really practice, because it doesn't matter how experienced a coach you are or how many centuries you've been doing this. Something happens, and the more we know, and it pops up and you just want to give some advice. So having a trained reflex of goes, I can take some advice and I can turn it into something. And the interesting bit is when you turn it into a very wide, thought-provoking question.
I didn't get that. Could you try again?
No. Why do the computers think they're in charge? You will often take them much broader than the advice you would have given them in the first place. They'll come up with something better. So, and the way I like to do it is, you imagine you are the person who's the case owner. So you put it down. So let's say Sunil is the one whose case we're working on today. In this section, we go around the room and we take it in turns and we go, so I'm Sunil. And as I look at myself in the mirror in the bathroom this morning, the question I'm asking myself is, and then you plant your thought-provoking question. There is something about that consciously, verbally putting yourself inside that person's being that seems to make it more effective. I haven't quite figured out why, but I notice it does. And that's the end of it. So we've gone around several different types of interaction. We then get the wrapping up discussion, where we go around the room and everybody just shares, like, what have you taken away from today? And no rules on that. It could be, I've learned something about coaching skills. I've learned something about application. Could be you've learned something about the process. Or about the case that you've written up that you had in mind. There's no rules. It's you learn what you learn. And that's end of session. So it's fun. It's frustrating at the beginning. Linda, yes, questions?
Tony, to what end is this? Essentially, to just to improve our skills and our questioning, so that our PCC and our MCC and our coaching improves, basically. Can you articulate it for me along those lines?
Yes, the purpose of the process is to deepen our coaching skills. Yes, it doesn't just work on your questioning techniques. It works on your listening skills very much. Also presence, connection, learning to get sort of tuned into people. As I mentioned before, so if we look down, I can map it against pretty much all the competencies. Evoking awareness, learning to trigger some fresh thinking in the person you're coaching, that's all it's all about. Coaching is the process of making people think, and we coach for behavioral change. That's it. There isn't anything else to it. So it does deepen the skills. Yes, Jaime.
Hey, hi, Tony. I see the value in this process, but just curious, how is this different from like peer mentoring?
Sorry, what is peer mentoring?
Well, it's like because I'm going for my renewal in my ACC renewal, and then it seems like we have to do some peer mentoring, attend some peer mentoring session. I have not attended a peer mentoring session, so I'm really just curious if you know the difference.
So I'm not familiar with the term peer mentoring. If you're talking about the mentor coaching hours that you have to do for your credential renewals, okay. So mentor coaching, which is what that is you working with a mentor coach. Typically, it's not always defined. They listen to recordings of your coaching. They give you feedback. They help you improve your skills.
Yes, but they do it over 10 sessions, of which I think 6 are group, and then you have 2 or 6 or 8 are group, and then you have 2 one-on-ones.
Yes, the group mentoring didn't used to exist. I think it came about because the coaches who do the mentor coaching were finding that what they need to charge to make a living made the process rather expensive for the coaches who were trying to build a practice. So ICF shifted and went, okay, you can do some of this in group, and then some of it you have to do one-on-one.
I see.
Okay. You will find, instead of just relying on waiting to do your mentor coaching, this is a way of month by month having a process to work through that will month by month improve your coaching skills dramatically. That's the name of the game here. This process is all just about hitting your core competencies, hitting your core skills, and making you a better coach. And I've been doing it for a long time. It works beautifully. I've never yet met the coach who rocked up to this, did a few sessions, they went, nah, not interesting. But try it. Yes, Linda.
Okay, good.
Tony, so this can't count towards that ACC mentor coaching requirement per se, because I think it sounds very similar. It sounds very similar.
It's got the same purpose, yes, but it's not something that ICF acknowledges and approves and counts towards that. What you do get is your chapters organize this to give you the CCEs.
Oh, I see. Yes, of course.
Yes,
okay.
So you're getting your CCEs from this. That's why I had to do that document that says, okay, each bit of the process, here's how it maps to the competencies.
Okay. And then if no one else is going to ask another question, I think finding topics and things to me would be quite difficult. I can never think of anything to kind of bring or to know. So, if, have you not perhaps got a suitcase that we can delve into that from business experience to bring into the space?
Well, I would submit, if you find I've got nothing I need to work on, then okay, don't need to do it. But if you coached a handful of people last month, I mean, this is a once a month process. Look back at all the people you coached in the previous month. Were any of those sessions, were they all perfect, or were there any of them where it didn't quite go the way you wanted? Are there any aspects of your coaching skills that you struggle with? Not uncommon, I've found with coaches, maybe ACC getting ready for PCC, is that they're going like, I'm asking really good questions and I don't seem to be triggering any thinking. Client keeps coming back and saying, I don't know. So is there some aspect of the coaching sessions you're doing that you would like to explore to make better at? Equally, as I said, the case could be about something you're trying to resolve in how you build your business. Any situation you're in that, so think about it, anything that you might bring up as what I want to talk about today, if you are having a coaching session with a coach. So do you work with a coach from time to time yourself?
No.
Do you have your business at the perfect stage where it's all wonderful and there's nothing wrong?
Tony, I do healthcare coaching, health and wellness, and I happen to have a master's in pharmacy. So,
right.
you know, I think the whole emphasis is quite different because I have my knowledge base, and I draw on the knowledge base more in the pharmaceutical healthcare environment. The coaching skills that I adopt are more to work towards compliance or understanding or identifying symptoms differently and so forth. So, you know, that's why it never really lends itself when if there's medical knowledge that I need or something, I park it and I revert and I go and fetch it and come back. So that part, but I'm always very interested, like when you start talking about the business environment, that to me now is nice. So where a guy's got to go to open another department in another part of the country. I mean, I could advise him from here to next century, so I'll be learning a lot about how to ask different questions. I just had to sit quietly for the whole time and mute and unplug my microphone so I could just sit. But that's nice to me because, you know, I'd like to, me personally, I'd like to move into that business environment, particularly in the Singaporean market. And I want to almost understand what it is that they talk about, what they think about, and how those things are resolved, because that'll give me those fairly nice, rich insights. And
for the rest of the group, the coaches listening, haven't we just heard Linda describe a perfect case that she could bring to the group? I want to move into the Singapore market and I'm not sure how. Brilliant. Bring that as your case.
Oh, wow, you're quite right. You're quite right. Never even thought of that.
Yeah, exactly. That's the point. So you can, whatever you want to do, whatever you want to do.
Okay.
Yeah, so the question is, so you're telling me there's nothing in life you need a little bit of fresh thinking on? Everybody's got something. So that could be yours.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's mine. I'll own it.
There you go. There you go. Okay, so what are the questions? We need to keep talking for another 5 minutes because I'm going to give you a CCE certificate for today anyway. Right.
So today is a little bit of a train the TTT, and then next time when we come back, I'm assuming we dive in. You would facilitate
next month. Yes, exactly. What we wanted to do today was just like explain the process, explain that we're not doing what it used to be, so that you can all take a view and go, "Does this sound interesting? Do I want to try it?" And you're not signing a contract. You can show up for a session, and if you don't like it, don't show up again. That's fine, you know. But so that's all we wanted to do today was say, look, this is what we're doing. It is different, and do you want to be part of it? Because this is how it will be. If you need that reciprocal coaching, then yeah, there is other good places to get that, and I'll happily share that with you if you just chuck me an email and remind me. Yeah.
This is fine. I really came in with no expectations, which has its own advantages.
Next month we will do the process. Yes.
Yeah. Are those sessions going to be recorded? Because I'm just thinking from the perspective of feeling psychologically safe to bring in cases. And
No, I'm the one amongst the CP leads who's been pushing for CPs like Josephine's, the internal coaching one, to be recorded, so that we can get CCE units for them, whatever. But the one flag I put up was like, we do not record this one. No.
Okay. No. Yeah, that's it. Thanks.
Yeah.
So Tony, how do I reach you from an email perspective? How do I find your mail?
I'll put it in the chat. You just go to Tony at profitableleadership.com. Okay.
And you might be going to cover this, but the case preparation we all do, we won't know whether it's our case that we're going to work with on the day, but do you want that preparation done in writing, or we just sort of mentally prepare for it? How would you like that to be done?
I strongly recommend that you put it in writing. Okay. Something happens to trigger your subconscious to work on your case while we're doing the process on somebody else's case. The most powerful way of doing that is that you write it up. You don't need to send them in. Yeah, I mean, I'm just going to come to the session. We're all grown-ups. Yeah. If you don't write up a case every month, you're the one who'll get less out of it. Yeah, but I've personally found that the act of taking 15 minutes to just write it down, what's my situation, what's my problem, what's the help I'm looking for, your subconscious kind of registers that and goes, okay, I'll work on that while you go and have fun with this other thing, helping Linda build her business in Singapore. Yeah. Okay. Yes, Yuki.
So going forward, are we going, when we do the process, is it gonna be like break a room, or just this in the main room?
No, so it's a process we do in the main group. Once you get beyond 12 people in a group, it sort of isn't quite as satisfying because you don't all get a chance to ask your questions and do your thing. So one of the reasons that I want us to start from day one training each of you in turn to be able to facilitate the process is so that if 12 months from now, 50 people rock up to a session, we simply go, okay, Sunil, Josephine, Yuki, Susan, you're going to be the facilitators, 4 breakout rooms, and we just put people into a room, and then we just run 4 sessions simultaneously through the evening. That's the beauty of the tech, we can do that. But in order to do that, I need everybody who comes to bit by bit learn how to facilitate the process.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tony,
Yes, Ellen.
I have some questions. So for example, if I want to bring about my coaching sessions that I have with my clients that I don't know how to crack it, when I bring the case into the group, will the question centering about me or it's about the clients? Because if it's the questions is on behalf of the client, I might not be able to answer it. What is the mock-up will be look like?
So am I hearing you say that you might bring a case where you say you've got a client and you're sort of stuck with them, they're stuck, they can't make progress? What's usually when we ask these questions, we've got something in mind, right? As the one you've got in mind, what is the actual problem?
Okay, so for example, like this client is actually my best friend, and she come to me with a problem that she cannot commit when she want to start something because she is too lazy about it. And when she told me that she want to be a full-time trader, she already subscribed to the $1,500 program, and then she just have to do the program. But she just cannot commit on doing it. And then she then goes to a story where the only time when she able to commit for changes is few months back. She have a miscarriage of her baby that she has been waiting for. And after that, he start turning into a healthy lifestyle. And after that, she start eating better, start exercising, things that she never done before. And she said, do I have to go through pain for me to change? So, but for me, I don't know why I cannot crack the case at that time. So I have like the session for 3 hours. I just cannot go into the right directions. I don't know what questions I should be asking or whether I'm not in the right focus because it is my friend. Therefore, so maybe I just don't know whether the questions will be centered around me as the coach or it will be focusing on the person that I coach if I bring that kind of case, for example. So.
Got it. Right. Okay. So that's a perfect example. So am I hearing correctly that you're with this person that you're coaching, your friend, you're struggling to help her get the breakthrough that she needs?
Yes. I just feel like I cannot be helpful like my other sessions.
Okay. All right. And if you were bringing that case to this group, what is the help you would like to get from the group?
Maybe there is some awareness or like there is some point that I'm missing or the way that I can do differently, but I was too biased. Like if it's not my best friend, I might not go to certain directions, but because it is my best friend, then my coaching doesn't go the way I usually goes. Maybe like I want to find some awareness in that area. Yeah.
Okay, so if I'm getting that correctly, then you're saying that the help, if you bring this case to this group, the help you would like to get is to uncover what it is in your approach that isn't working and find a new way to coach her to get breakthrough.
Yes, because I'll be having another session with her again, and I just want to be able to accompany her throughout the journey, but I just afraid it will be another useless sessions again.
Okay, fine. All right. So what we have there is there's a case and a situation nicely presented. The problem that Ellen's got and the help she would want from the group is, I need to discover how to help my friend get a breakthrough to make the coaching sessions useful.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, good. So that's the direction you then take her in. So we would then go into it and you would all work on asking questions to help trigger fresh thinking for Ellen on how she can make this breakthrough happen, how she can help her friend. So yes, to answer your question, that's to be the process. It's about you.
Okay, so it's about me. So it will be, why don't you ask these questions? But it will not become.
Well, we won't give advice like that. We will practice on. But we will ask some thought-provoking questions, which may help you actually get fresh thinking and discover another way to approach it.
We'll
Can
give
you
advice.
Sorry.
Tony, we'll give advice on the medicine that the friend needs for the miscarriage. It's vitamin E, 400 milligrams.
Okay. Yes, we can have an advice column on the side for the medical stuff. Yeah. Okay. So right, that's it. You will. I mean, who knows? You may need to discover and think of new approaches to take with her. You may just need to get some realization on what it is that's preventing you helping her the way you help other clients.
Okay, so the questions.
We're just going to trigger your thinking. We're going to help you get fresh thinking. And I guarantee by the end of the hour, you will get a fresh insight that will go, okay, I've just realized something. I'll go try this.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Tony.
Yeah. Okay, cool. How does that sound? Any more questions?
Tony, I don't have any question. I must say that this is a process I've been through a few times, and I find it very helpful, particularly that it lends new perspectives to the case owner, and strongly encourage. I think this is a good process to work with. Thank you.
I've always found every group I've ever attended, doesn't matter how experienced you get, you walk away with something because somebody will ask something, you go like, my God, there's a perspective on the universe I never would have thought of. It's amazing what you'll get. Yeah.
I enjoy particularly the part on the office gossip, so like the pantry gossip.
It's my favorite bit. Yeah.
Yes.
All right.